here with What's Hot in Tucson with Brian Kosnar of Brian Kosnar Mineral Classics. And this is also just one of my favorite interviews to do because we got really nerd out.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's not just about the minerals, it's about how they form and understanding all the processes that go into things. And we're going to dive into that a little bit with a handful of specimens, and then I'll show you the real reason that you're here.
Oh, okay. Well, this is exciting because you've got some beautiful cases you've put together this year.
Thank you. We literally did put these together. Every one of these we built ourselves from the ground up.
Seriously?
Yeah, we literally assembled every one of these from scratch.
Well, the gallery looks absolutely spectacular.
Thanks.
And gotta say, my vision is immediately drawn to these Mimetites in here.
Right.
Because there was this moment where I was like, oh, he's got some really great Malpais Mimetites. But no, these things are from the Republic of the Congo.
Right, from Mfwati. This famous secondary ore deposit has produced in limited quantity gem mimetites that are on par with the best of species from places like Sumeb or Milpias, or even the Thai crystals that came out several years ago. They are rich in color, darker, I would say, than anything from Sumeb because they have a hint of an orange overtone.
Yeah.
I think you alluded to a Legrandite similarity in terms of color.
You know, the color from across the room, like if you didn't get close enough and see the different morphology, you'd be like, oh, that's a really big Legrandite.
Right.
And it's just the color's sun-kissed, if that makes sense.
Exactly, yeah. The saturation, along with the fact that the crystals are absolutely water clear in areas, which is remarkable for mimetite. For a species that is found all over the world, to find crystals of this quality is exceedingly rare in my experience. We only got a handful of pieces. There's only about 7 or 8 decent pieces in the pocket, and even this one is not completely pristine. There's a little bit of roughness on there, but it's the kind of thing that you almost forgive the roughness for the fact that that section right there is so pristine and picturesque and beautiful. This pocket is not new. It actually was found 2 years ago, but it took me that long to get them delivered. It's the way things go sometimes, but my shipment literally showed up a few days before we left for Tucson, and we had just enough time to get them scrubbed off and brought down here. So I'm very proud of them. I'm hoping to see more. I don't know if there will be, so if anybody's interested in them, please come check them out because they could all be gone before the show's over.
Well, fingers crossed because that more come out because these things are spectacular.
Absolutely, I agree.
So, I guess staying on continental themes, but you got some great eye candy in here. And geo
Come a long
candy.
way from the Black Rocks, I guess.
I was actually gonna say, normally we get to nerd out about what some people refer to as the black uglies,
Black beauties.
and simultaneously here you are with these really colorful specimens.
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess I kind of fell to the dark side in the sense that I haven't turned my back on black rocks. There's always going to be a soft spot for sulfides and sulfosalts and oxides. But to me, this isn't necessarily a colorful rock. This is an ore body specimen.
Well, I mean, both of these are technically ore specimens, right? I mean, you've got one that's a lead carb, and this one where you've got these beautiful secondary malachite melange. And with this gold caught up in here.
From a very small discovery in the Kelkaveld in Namibia, I actually met the mine owner in September in Denver and purchased a handful of these specimens from him directly. And I was lucky to get them because he told me that he was considering melting everything down to get the gold value out of them.
It's honestly probably the thing that's keeping these combos out, right? I mean, with the price of gold being what, $2,800?
$2,800, yeah.
This morning, it's like, okay, like this, if you don't see the specimen value in it,
right,
you would go, okay, the gold value's here, and then you realize how cool a specimen like this is.
So I was lucky enough to get my hands on a few of these. That obviously is the best one because it's a good rich concentration of gold on the contrasting malachite. And while neither species is rare in nature, the combination of the two is exceedingly hard to find.
And mostly, it's really pretty.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Like, it's the thing that you
showy.
see across the room because you get that contrast. And then over here, This one looks like it gets even cooler.
It is.
Because that's not malachite, that's dioptase.
Right. We have copper silicates instead of copper carbonates. And on the back, you can see some little veinlets of dark blue shattuckite together. And again, all these minerals, malachite, dioptase, shattuckite, they're all over the chalcophyll. It's the gold that makes them so special.
Oh, these are cool.
And this one has the rich, buttery color. You can see that deep, saturated gold color in there. It's the only one I saw that had dioptase and shattuckite with it.
Well, what I also like are the crystals have sort of this sort of spiky aspect and feel to them in terms of like the visuals. So the contrast between the two is really neat.
Yeah, and it's displayable. It sits nicely. It's the kind of thing, sometimes you just you get lucky and things come out of the ground looking wonderful, and you don't have to do anything else. And obviously, I wouldn't trim it, because if you trimmed off that end, you'd lose your dioptase.
Well, I mean, it's cute as is, too, right? Just perfectly perched like that.
Showy, unusual combination, and it appeals to a lot of people, whether you collect native metals, secondary ore minerals, if you like unusual combinations, rare localities. I'd only have a handful of pieces from this locality as well. Maybe we'll get more, we'll find out. I guess when I talk to the mine owner again at this show, we'll see if he kept any specimens or if they all ended up melted down.
Oh, that's really cool. I'm gonna have to contemplate this one. This is the dangerous part about doing What's Hot in Tucson.
Yeah, but you get exclusive access. I mean, we haven't even opened. The show hasn't even opened yet, and you're getting a first-hand view of everything.
Exactly. Well, you keep tantalizing that there's something else. And if you've got the bar set here with these, how could you do better than that?
Buckle up.
Okay.
In September, we did a display of rubies, spinels, and associated minerals from Mogok in Myanmar and the surrounding areas. And this year, we brought it to the highest level possible. In this case, what we are presenting is the greatest assemblage of matrix, unrepaired, undamaged ruby crystals from Mogok in the world. And it's my belief that if you took the finest specimens from all the private collections and museums globally and combined them, it would not compete with what you have in front of you. Roughly 30 ruby specimens that represent 30 years of mining and acquisitions from various sources, dealers, collectors, miners. I have been chasing this stuff since I was 15 years old. I am now 45. That is 2/3 of my life spent fascinated and pursuing minerals of Mogok and the surrounding areas. Rubies, and I said all of this in September, but I'll give you the quick recap.
Yeah.
Rubies are called the king of gems. They are ubiquitous. You don't have to explain them to anybody. You could walk up to a 3-year-old child and say, you know what a ruby is? And they can tell you what a ruby is, even if they've never even seen one. Yet, nobody has them, Lauren. Think about it. How many rubies do you know of from Mogok in private collections? You've seen a ton of rocks in your life. Think about all the good rubies you've seen, especially undamaged, unrepaired matrix rubies. And the unrepaired, I will stress, for the simple fact that we will use this crystal as a great example. And I showed this one off. I had it in September. Hold this one. I want you to, she's giddy. She's giddy.
I've never heard her make that sound.
We're going to do something here that's a little bit fun. But Lauren, what do you feel on the surface of that ruby crystal? What do you feel when you rub your fingers up and down?
We can feel the growth planes.
But what about the luster?
The luster's insane.
Slick and vitreous, right?
Yes.
You know what sucks about that slick vitreous luster? It pops out of the marble 99% of the time, because this is not conducive with the matrix in which it forms. As a matter of fact, almost every ruby crystal is deliberately separated from the marble by the people mining them, because they're not mining for specimens.
Yeah, you don't want to have the weight.
But every one of these mines is chasing gems. They don't care about crystals. And that's the funny thing about all of these rubies. When you look at them, you'll notice they are not completely transparent, because anything that would yield a decent faceted stone is destroyed.
Especially when it's this color.
This is as good as it gets.
This color is just wild.
And this one is not just rich in color. This one shows good internal gemminess. This is such an anomaly, because although it wouldn't yield completely clean stones, you could get decent cab material out of here of the finest pigeon blood color. You've heard that term before, pigeon blood? You're looking at pigeon blood. The crazy thing is, here, I'll hand it back to you.
Yes, please.
Chromium causes the color in rubies, right? It's aluminum oxide. The chromium replaces the aluminum in the chemical composition. You get this. But chromium also inhibits crystal growth. So this is an anomaly for the simple fact that a crystal this size with that much chromium in it should not exist. A piece, especially as pristine as it is, large, euhedral, sharp, lustrous, well-formed, doubly terminated, a floater, if you will, it is as good as they can be for the size and the quality. And that chromium does this.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Look at that fluorescence. A little bit of chromium goes a long way in terms of making something glow. And they all fluoresce like this. So, like I said, it's important for people to understand why these rubies are so rare. Number one, they are not mining these rubies for specimens. They are mining them for gemstones. And when they get their hands on clean material, they cut them 100% of the time. Because think about it, Lauren, you got a crystal about this size, maybe a centimeter, but it's water clear. They know they can get a few $100,000 for that crystal. There's no thumbnail collector in the world that's going to pay that price for it. And they have dozens of people that are willing to buy the faceted gem. So we look at all of these and we see one thing in common: the color, the quality, the aesthetics, the balance. My favorite part of these pieces is the fact that all of the marble is hand trimmed. They haven't been etched away. Because you know how you get that kind of porous, waxy effect when you etch the marble?
It ends up looking kind of wrong.
Artificial. You've seen those ones from Vietnam that they sculpt and they change the marble dramatically. This is still completely natural, and it gives them such a beautiful appearance. Obviously, everything has been arranged in a way that the crystals are perfectly oriented on the matrix. Most of them just balanced and centered. That is one of the best pieces you will ever see. For the size, the quality, and the fact that it is not glued on the matrix. The fact that that sucker's still on there is a minor miracle. And people think, oh, well, they must produce this stuff all the time. No, most of these mines, you're lucky if you get one good ruby a year. And that's going through thousands of tons of marble, because this isn't a vein system. You're not following an ore body. It is luck of the draw and completely random. And the fact that you even find rubies, let alone rubies of that quality, is miraculous. And I'm not saying that as hyperbole. It is legitimately a miracle that pieces of this size and quality survive out of these mines. So, none of this is contemporary material. The majority of it came out 20, 30 years ago, sometimes as recently as 10 years ago, but it is a representation of world-class ruby specimens from Mogok, the king of gems in specimen form. And I am here as a representative and the unofficial public relations person for rubies. I think people who care about colorful minerals, gem material, should have a good ruby in their collection. And this is an opportunity to not only see, but acquire the best of what is available from Mogok. Not just from me, from anybody. You can go around Tucson and you won't find material of this size and caliber and quality anywhere else. And if nothing else, I want people to come here and just experience these things and see how good they are, because you will never have another display like this probably ever again. Now, it's not to say I'm never doing it again, because I love this stuff. Like I said, 30 years of my life, I will have these going forward.
But some of these are going to find new homes, which means they're not probably going to be together.
I'm hoping that the display gets a little bit smaller as the years go by. Yeah.
Well, I'm amazed by these in so many ways. I mean, one, calcite has cleavage, and it would like to. I mean, the fact that these have been hand carved and they haven't popped off, and you get the contrast. I mean, yes, the single is just wow.
Yeah, it grabs your attention.
But having it on the matrix with the context and seeing where it came from just has that much more impact. And the fact that they've survived like this.
And so many of them.
And the number of geologic variables that have to come together to get them to begin with, then to get them to that level, you're talking infinitesimally rare.
Oh yeah, it's the perfect storm repeated again and again.
And then you introduce the human element, right? Which is adding a whole new set of variables. And then they've got to survive that much longer, and then they've got to get all the way over here. And this is spectacular.
Thank you.
And you've also got some crazy spinels in here too. Which...
Well, yeah, this is the cousin of corundum. If corundum's aluminum oxide, this is aluminum magnesium oxide with the same chromium giving them that intense red color. They are literally called ruby spinels because they have the same exact hue. When you get the best of the reds and the deep pinks, they look like rubies. You know the famous story of the Black Prince's ruby in the British Crown Jewels. They thought it was a ruby for the longest time. Turned out to be a giant gem spinel. And obviously they didn't have ways of testing it back then, but these are the two signature species that come out of the Mogok marble tract. And when they are at their best, they are as good as they can be. And the color is spectacular. The crystallization, especially in the larger ones. When you find octahedrons that go 3-4 centimeters that are so sharp and lustrous and well formed, regardless of the color, that's rare enough for spinel.
Well, I mean, I actually love that color specifically on this one where it's got that purple undertone to it.
Yeah.
It's more of like a rosewood
Exactly.
color
Get
versus
a little
like the...
backlighting in here so you
And
can
just-
really see this guy glow. Look at that.
Oh, this is a knock your socks off case.
Thank you. Like I said, it's been a lot of hard work and time and effort. And I will say, and I said it in September, but it's worth repeating, there hasn't been any mining in Mogok for half a decade. The combination of the Civil War and the pandemic closed down all the mines. And some of these mines, like the big one, Kadote Tat, which our cameraman here, Brian, has personally been inside, it's 1,000 meters deep, Lauren, in a tropical climate. What happens to a 1,000-meter hole in a tropical climate when nobody's mining? It floods. That mine is completely flooded. Oh, this is a cool one here.
Oh my gosh, this thing is cool.
So this is transitioning, no more chromium from ruby to a kind of greenish gray corundum. You could call it sapphire if you want to, but you can literally see the line where the chromium ran out, but the aluminum oxide kept going.
And it's on this absolutely adorable calcite rock.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know this is weird to say, but this might be my favorite.
That's okay. It's a good one to like.
I mean, but then you realize what's up on this top shelf. This is a really hard case to pick a favorite. This is insane. This is really cool.
I really appreciate it. So like I said, the mine's flooded. All the mines are flooded. It's going to take millions of dollars to pump them out. Good luck convincing an outside investor, hey, give us a few $1 million on the come that you're going to find a ruby. There's no guarantee. You can go through thousands of tons of marble and find bupkis. And that's the treasure hunter aspect of it is, hey, we could find the greatest ruby ever seen or absolutely nothing. But if they tell you, well, we can't just go mine. We have to pump all this water out first and it will take a while and a lot of money and then maybe you find something.
Yep.
Combine that with the fact that a lot of these specimens were taken out of the ground by hand. Most of the mining process now is mechanized through crushers.
So you're going to miss it.
You will get tiny specimens. Pieces of this size will not exist because the crusher won't allow it. And if you do get lucky enough that something comes out on matrix, a miniature is probably the largest size specimen you can hope for. Because like I said, they're not mining for specimens. They are looking to separate ruby from rock in the hopes that they are transparent and will yield cut stones. So all of these are little gifts that luckily weren't clean enough to be faceted because every one of them would have been destroyed otherwise. But the color's there, the quality's there, the size, the aesthetics, it's all here. And if you collect gem crystals or you care about well-known material that you've just never had a chance to get your hands on,
These are the classics.
without a doubt, 2,000 years worth of mining documented in Mogok. This stuff has been known for that long. And amazingly, Lauren, it's only been a little over 30 years of actual specimen recovery. They never ever cared about saving crystals, let alone crystals on matrix. This is the efforts of the Western market saying, hey, we would like to preserve these things on the marble in which they form. So 2,000 years versus a few decades, a little over 1% of the time that they've been mining here, and you're seeing it represented in front of you. And it's not just rubies and spinels. We have gem topaz, we have peridot crystals, tourmaline, you can go down the list here, sapphires, and then of course all the rarities known from Mogok, species like serendibite and painite, pudredite, all those minerals that people see in tiny examples. We have fine crystallized specimens here.
I know in a case full of crazy things, this is a weird one to pick up.
You go for the black rock.
That thing is so cool.
Well, and there's actually a slightly smaller one, but finer quality. Grab that one up there on the top shelf and pop the lid open and show that one to everybody.
Oh, that's such a crisp crystal.
It actually has a tiny bit of a bluish green color on the surface.
That. Yeah. You can see that down here.
Excellent crystallized serendipite is almost impossible to find from any locality, but these are by far the best in the world for what they are. And again, if these are clean enough, Lauren, they cut them as well. Saving absolutely transparent crystals is almost impossible. So you've got to get ones with maybe a slight amount of translucency. And you can see the peridot on your left there, right in the front. Gem green like glass. This is, without a doubt, the best quality peridot in the world in terms of the color and the transparency, and it's crystallized. Sure, the ones from Pakistan are great, and they're big crystals, but they're rarely like this. Water clear, well-defined, perfect crystals with the best bottle green color you could hope for.
Spectacular.
And everybody thinks, oh, they all come out of the marbles. No, 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 no. You've got pegmatites, you've got metamorphic contacts, you've got skarns, all sometimes within meters of each other. And the folds and the geology on top of one another, it's one of the wildest places on Earth. It's a geologist's dream because almost every major rock forming environment is represented in a small space. And if you've ever looked at maps, it's crazy. It's like a layer cake on top of puff pastry. It's just layer after layer after fold after fold.
It looks like someone got like really creative with their laundry pile.
Exactly. Yeah. And just sheets and sheets of the stuff. And you go through it and you're like, first of all, not how did it just form, but how did it yield so much beautiful crystallized material? Because usually when you get into such complex rocks like that, you don't get big crystals.
Well, unless you do, right? Like if you have the perfect storm, and I mean, part of what helps is calcite wants to leave the situation.
Exactly.
Right? Like it dissolves, especially under temperature and acidity conditions, and you know, you add some water to it and
give a little silica sometimes, maybe a little bit of chromium or a little bit of
and then you got whatever weirdness was caught up in the rock too.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? And
that's why you get those trace elements and, you know, some of the rarities that come through here. And I've seen rare earths, all kinds of weird stuff.
Oh yeah, no, you're gonna end up with just, like I said, it's the perfect storm of geology that created this, and then you have to get through the human element as well.
Exactly. We'll pop the door open on the last case real quick, and I'll let you go, just because I want everybody to see what's represented here. Ruby spinel thumbnails, more matrix spinels, tourmalines. This is my favorite rock in the case.
Look
because
at this enstatite.
Gem quality on matrix. I've seen plenty of good enstatites, but that is the only matrix piece I've ever seen with a water clear crystal so perfectly positioned. That is a rarity and worth more than a lot of other things in the case for what it is. Enstatite is usually black and opaque, but this one has a good golden green color to it, absolutely water clear. I love that rock. And the fact that you went to it just reassures me how good it is.
That's great.
Everybody who's available to come see this stuff in Tucson, I don't care if you buy something. I just want people to see it because there's never been a display like this in history. And I wanted to tout this stuff for what it is because it's not just about the rubies. It's the fact that there's so much majesty and magic and history behind this locality. And it also produces amazing material. Can you see the face? Yes. Yeah.
That's
backlight it and you see the two eyes and the mouth in there.
And it's so red.
Uh-huh. And with a rare yellow color. Yellow is a rare color for tourmaline. The combination of the two was irresistible. And this is obviously not from the marbles. It comes out of a pegmatite.
Yeah.
But the fact that it's not that far away from where the rubies are found, I mean, it's no wonder people love mining this stuff because there's always something different to be found in various localities.
Oh. Geologically, mineralogically, and so cool. Oh,
I really appreciate you guys coming. And like I said,
so much for sharing this and bringing
of course,
it. And
it means a lot to me. It's not about selling minerals. It really isn't. Although, yes, I'd like to be able to sell stuff. This was a passion project. This was something I cared about for 3 decades, and putting this together and showing it off in a way, because the stuff always comes out in bits and pieces. Like one person has a piece or maybe a small parcel of things. But I put together a representation of a lot of what has been seen over the course of a few decades, but never on a scale where, I compare it to like, okay, tourmalines or tanzanites or rhodochrosites or whatever. People love those and know those because they're abundant enough that there's enough for everybody to get one of them, or several dealers have them, and you can do apples to apples comparisons. Well, my tourmaline's better than so-and-so's, or I like this tanzanite better than that one, or whatever. But nobody can do that because nobody has like 2 rubies that they can put up against each other. And I'm just trying
says the man with 30 plus.
But that's the reason I'm doing it, is to say that this is possible. If there's people who want them, if they want to be able to show off, hey, I got one of the good ones, this is what they look like. And if they don't find any more, and I hope they do, at least we know that this stuff exists and it's out there for anybody chasing a gem mineral. We think of gem minerals and it's always pegmatites, right? It's tourmaline, it's topaz, it's beryl, it's spodumene.
And then when you ask a little kid, they're going to tell you ruby and sapphire and diamond.
Exactly.
They're all not coming out of pegmatite.
These are gem minerals. They are the gem mineral. Like I said, the king of gems, and arguably the most valuable of the precious gems in the world. The top quality rubies sell price per carat sometimes for $250,000.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for sharing this with us.
My absolute pleasure. Thank you for coming.
And Burma Bri, this has just been fantastic.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Oh,
and
it's my pleasure.
Look forward to seeing what you bring next year.
All right, let's not get too far ahead of ourselves. This took a while, all right? I mean, next year I'll try to bring something cool, but I can't do something like this every year.
We set the bar high enough. We can start having expectations.
Yeah, it's okay. But I mean, sometimes you get your Lifetime Achievement Award when you're at this age, so.
Yeah, well, I mean, take it, right?
Yeah, for sure. Thanks so much for coming. I really appreciate it. I look forward to seeing people. Like I said, we got just a short time till the doors open and the show's ready here.
Gotta let you get going.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks so much. Take care.
Okay.